Today, I'd like to break down the basic lore and background information for Baldur's Gate 3 that you will want to know to fully appreciate and understand what is happening in Baldur's Gate 3 before you play. This video will not have spoilers in the plot beyond the very basics that even watching a trailer would spoil. This isn't meant to tell you the story of Baldur's Gate 3, but instead to teach you of places, events, and the background lore that is present, and to catch you up on Dungeons & Dragons information that will enhance your play of Baldur's Gate 3. So let's get started, and there is no better place to begin than Baldur's Gate itself. Baldur's Gate is one of the oldest cities in the Sword Coast, the entire area that Baldur's Gate 3 takes place in. It has a very high population and is practically the capital city of the area. Baldur's Gate is known for holding law and order to a very high degree. It is a historied city where even gods themselves have warred. Baldur's Gate is known for being prosperous and as being a merchant city. It is south of Waterdeep and has a distinct crescent moon shape wrapping around its harbor. Baldur's Gate is protected by the Flaming Fists, and for good reason. The city can be dangerous, and from its very early beginnings has been home to pirates and all kinds of unsavory types throughout its history. The city is named after Baldur, who sailed the world and used his wealth to build the Great Wall around what became Baldur's Gate. And it's worth mentioning Waterdeep just north of Baldur's Gate because it is home to the famous tavern, the Yawning Portal, which acts more than just any other tavern. It has a pit, an entry well that leads down into the dungeon known as the Undermountain. Adventurers go there to pay gold in order to gain access to this treacherous dungeon and to spin tales of grand adventure. Now let's talk about the Illithid race, also known as the Mind Flayers. These are a race of creatures that roams across the universe looking for specimens to reproduce with by injecting worms into their bodies, which over some time the specimen will turn into a Mind Flayer. And while the worm is within their body, they generally become thralls, enslaved by the Mind Flayers. Long ago, the Gith race was completely enslaved as a people by the Illithid. But thanks to a woman named Gith, they united and broke free of the Mind Flayers and thus named their entire race Githyanki in her memory. They now devote themselves to fighting the Mind Flayers in retaliation, but there is another actual sect of the Gith that does not wish to retaliate, and they are known as the Githzerai. Now it's worth mentioning that the ships that the Mind Flayers use to travel can teleport and jump between dimensional planes. This made it hard for the Gith to chase them, so they made a pact with the dragon goddess Tiamat, who currently resides in Avernus, more on that in a minute, in order to ride atop red dragons with the power to also teleport so they can chase the Mind Flayer ships. Now, due to generations of fighting the Illithids, and their history with them, the Gith know more about the Mind Flayers than probably anyone else in the Forgotten Realms. And we need to talk a bit about racial relations in the Sword Coast area, but also in the larger realm of Forgotten Realms. Let's start with what is referred to as the noble races, which is made up of the humans, elves, dwarves, gnomes, and halflings. These races are seen as good and non-evil races. Now, this isn't necessarily true, but is the way the general populace behaves and acts and helps you understand relationships and conversations. There are also races such as the Drow, half-orcs, Githyanki, tieflings, and others that are seen as originating from something evil and are frowned upon by many people. The Drow come from the Underdark, and since many of them worship the spider goddess Lolth, we'll talk about that in a minute too, they are seen as evil, whereas races like the tieflings are born due to a pact with the devil. Due to this origin, there being many fear tieflings and want them cast out because of a fear that they will summon forth the devil into the material plane and other such things. And now I want to talk about Avernus because it will be referenced and definitely more in Baldur's Gate 3, and I feel the understanding of this is crucial to many conversations and events you're going to come across. Avernus is basically the first level of hell, and the damned souls come through Avernus in order to reach the other layers of the Nine Hells. Asmodeus rules over the Nine Hells and has forbade any portals to other areas of the Nine Hells. So Avernus also being the first level, is the most traveled and known about of the 9 hells. Avernus has an ongoing war between the devils and demons, because yes, those are 2 different factions in Baldur's Gate 3 and D&D as a whole, and many archdevils, extremely powerful creatures, and Tiamat, the queen of evil dragons with 5 heads, also resides. Zariel is a fallen angel who now rules over Avernus, this first level of the 9 hells. And next, let's discuss the multiple gods of the multiverse, because different factions and cultures will talk about these, and they possibly might even come into play during Baldur's Gate 3. There are many, but I'll try to hit the big ones. So first up is Bhaal, the god of murder, and is part of the Dead 3 with Merkel, the Lord of the Dead, and Bane, the Lord of Tyranny, who is known for being very violent, cruel, and hateful. Bhaal was originally a mortal assassin who ascended to godhood with the help of Bane and Merkel when they defeated one of the 7 lost gods and divided his power amongst themselves. They then defeated another god and divided its power. Bhaal was defeated by another god named Cyric with a sword called Godsbane atop Borskir Bridge. Bhaal had foreseen his death, however, and had already impregnated mortal women with his seed to carry a piece of his divine presence with them. These children are known as the Children of Bhaal, or Bhaal spawn, and are leading to his resurrection. If these children are slain and their essence gathered at the Mana Forge, he can return. His symbol is that one you see in Baldur's Gate logos, etc., with the skull surrounded by a ring of teardrops. At the end of Throne of Bhaal, so the final expansion for Baldur's Gate 2, Bhaal's essence is absorbed. Now, how Baldur's Gate 3 decides to handle this is unknown to me. Shar is another goddess we need to mention, a goddess of darkness and night. She created the Shadow Weave, which is a corrupting force of magic that drains life and muddles the mind and senses and enhances certain schools of magic. Considered very dangerous to tamper with, Shar is considered to be twisted and perverse, full of hate and envy, with a goal to destroy all order. Shar is also the enemy of the goddess of magic, Mystra. So let's talk about Mystra, a goddess of magic. Wherever magic is worked, Mystra is present. Mystra is known to shape change, with mortals claiming to have seen her saying she changed constantly. Others claim she looks like a will-o-wisp. Mystra's purpose appears to be to maintain the order in the world of magic. Tempus is a god you may hear a lot about as the god of war, very powerful, and often his name is whispered when someone draws their weapon. Tyr is the god of justice, a lawful good god of the Forgotten Realms. Lolth is the goddess of the Gith. She was once a powerful lich, but rose to godhood and is now the deity of the Gith race. And finally, we have Lolth, the goddess of the Drow, a powerful demon and calling the Underdark her home, a spider goddess, very powerful, whose influence echoes across the history of the Drow. With all of this information, you should be able to well understand the Forgotten Realms in conversations within Baldur's Gate 3. I felt like these particular subjects are necessary and really will deeply enhance your gameplay and understanding of the world. Please leave me a comment about any additional information about this lore that you also find to be important, but avoid spoilers, of course, please. And hit that like button and subscribe for more. We will be covering Baldur's Gate 3 extensively here on the channel. And until next time, my friends, God bless and happy gaming. I want to give a very special thank you to the members of Napalm for your contributions month over month in keeping me full-time. You help me pay the bills so I can keep streaming and pumping out content, and I truly appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, and I think you might be interested in becoming a member of the channel. Please click the join button down below the video for more information and join our family. And I want to give an extremely big shout out to the Lords of Napalm: Bounty Code, Jared Woodhouse, Daimlos, Farthest Reach, Sparrow, Christopher Hensel, Random Rob, Zelik Lived, Rodney Mom, Vander, Gallery Moonsong, What's the Takeaway, Trips, Bad Wolf Gaming, Richard Glass, Chrono Guru, Cobalt, and the Cyber Nomad Witcher. Thank you for your highest tier membership.